or the agency or department head were to declare an emergency in any of those areas, that you would have to be, as the legislature, be notified. So if the sheriff or the county health department deemed a particular individual a threat to the health and safety of the community, you would have to be notified.
So 17 in the fifth category there on that PowerPoint slide, it says 17 of them would mandate that the legislature be notified. One of the reasons for that is when we were doing our research on when emergency powers are used, we couldn't find incidences of them. We went to LSB, which is the Legislative Service Bureau. Those are our resources that we have as legislators to help us garner answers, and they weren't even able to tell us when emergency powers were used. And all we're asking is to be notified when emergency powers are being utilized, so that I know as an elected official here in our Jackson community, I would rather know what's going on in that regard. And I think it allows us to be more in touch with our community and ensure that the laws we have on our books are adequate and sufficient.
Yeah, some of these laws that you could find no evidence that they've ever been used are 100 years old.
Correct. When you look at the section there on the PowerPoint where it's got repeal of unnecessary, duplicative, outdated statutes, there are 8 bills that would simply be repealed. Why? Because one of 2 reasons. Number one, they are no longer needed. Some of the bills, to the best of our knowledge, no one had any reference of them being utilized. And newspaper articles helped us go back to 1917 to find in one of them when it was last used. We did ask the departments for insight as to when they were utilized. And again, for the most part, they weren't. The other piece here, though, is they're duplicative. The APA, the Administrative Procedure Act, that means departments already have this power in other forms of emergency power. So we're not looking at taking anything away. We're not looking at adjusting. We're getting rid of these duplicative bills. And to me, that just makes sense.
So I think this all stems from the governor's emergency orders with COVID. But didn't the Supreme Court strike down and rule that her powers were limited? And did the Supreme Court's action, that wasn't enough then?
That was for the 1945 law.
Just for that?
Just for the 45 law.
Okay.
So the 1976 law still states after 28 days, the governor must come to the legislature and get approval to extend it. And that's one of the other categories on there, the 4th category down with 4 bills under that category. After 28 days, the governor must come to the legislative branch because, again, we are the closest to the people, right? That is the reasoning behind that, so that we all can work collaboratively on. They may need to be extended and they may not, but we need to be involved in that process and have the guardrails in place to offer that checks and balance.
So do we know how the legislative branch views this package of bills? Do they look at this as a set of handcuffs, or are they interested in cooperating?
That's a good question, and we'll find out. I believe the package will be voted out of committee tomorrow. You know, I don't see it as political or partisan. I see my job is to go back and review laws. What have we learned over the last few years? The one piece of legislation that deals a little bit more with content of the law is one where it says, it's the 3rd one down, limit health inspector powers. There's one bill in there that says a county health inspector can go into your home and remove you from your home. Now, there's a variety of criteria, as many are health, safety, welfare, completely get it. But there's a phrase in there, and it says, or for any other reason. I don't think anyone wants one individual for any other reason to allow you to be removed from your home. So I just see that as just a little bit expansive. Again, that is the one area that deals a little bit more with the phrasing in it, and the rest fall under the category of notification, timelines.
Yeah, that seems a little vague. I don't like your looks. Get out.
We don't want that.
So that will continue. And so where are we because that was just introduced, so we're just starting
Starting the process. Hopefully, it'll be passing out of the House Oversight Committee tomorrow and then moving on to the House floor. And then over to the Senate.
All right, stay tuned. Yeah, it's amazing the number of bills that are introduced every week. It's like,
Yes.
it's just like, oh my gosh, do we have enough laws? Apparently not.
Well, you know what? I would ask this question: what problem are we trying to solve? If there's truly a problem that we're trying to solve, then or clean the books up, right? Make them more concise, not offer inconsistencies in statutes. Then there's value to the laws being introduced. As long as there's a problem, we can stay focused on the problem we're trying to solve.
All right. Last week, you were one of 17 Republican House members signing a letter calling on the Attorney General to further investigate the 2020 election. Not quite considered a dead horse yet?
So I guess for me, when we look at what's been investigated, what has and hasn't, it comes in a variety of different packages. So in this case, someone is making a claim that these mules or these ballot traffickers were doing something inappropriate, unacceptable, illegal is the biggest piece here. If illegal activities are taking place, to me, I am willing to ask the question to have law enforcement, in this case, our Attorney General, look into it and further the investigation to better understand what can be found.
So there's this film, it's called 2,000 Mules, that was released over the weekend, I guess, in 250 theaters or something. Made by, and I think they were clear that the people that made the film, they were partisan Republicans. Right-leaning, that made the case, or tried to make the case, that there were these mules, people, that were carrying boxes of ballots and delivering them to election polling places, and that they tainted the election.
And the drop boxes, that they were trafficking those tickets, those trafficking
like
the ballots.
Drug mules. Yeah, I haven't seen the film. Have you seen the film?
I have watched it. And you know what? Again, I will go back to when the people I represent have questions and they just are looking for clarity. I don't see harm in looking and better understanding with those allegations that are made.
I've read about the film, and it sounds far-fetched. I mean, it does. It sounds almost unbelievable.
So when you watch the film, they make some very strong, valid points. And again, I will go back to, I don't see harm in those, whether it's law enforcement or in this case, our Attorney General, to do their job and answer those questions.
And here in the state of Michigan, it's been investigated. We've had courts, we've had judges.
Yeah. So I would, to that claim though, I would say not all areas of the election were investigated. So it's easy to say, we've looked into, or we have done what we need to do to secure that the elections were free and fair. I'm going to keep going back to, we can never do enough to ensure that one vote for one person is free and fair, and that everyone be allowed to do that. So I'm not afraid to keep asking the question.
I think the Attorney General said pass.
Yep, that wouldn't surprise me. And again, she is her own elected official, and she has the right to do so. Bart, how many children do you have, Bart?
Two.
Yeah. They're both very different and unique, aren't they? Their personalities. And I was thinking the other day, if I had, let's say, 3 children, and at night they got ready for bed, and all 3 of them with different personalities, they kind of remind me of the constituents I serve. You've got one group that says, there's nothing wrong, everything's fine, leave it and move on. I hear them. You've got other that, well, there might be something, there might not, but I'm not really sure I want to do anything with it. Whatever. But then I've got another group of constituents that I serve, or another, let's just use the analogy of 3 children, different personalities, that can't sleep at night. They're not even willing to vote. They're concerned about what happened. To them, the most important thing is that they have their answers their questions answered, because they can't sleep at night. They're hearing, and so as a parent, I'm going to do everything I can to assure that child is safe and sound, that there's nothing in your bed, there's nothing in your closet, that the questions you have are answered. And that's where I go back to. There's a very strong group of individuals, a large group of individuals that also want answers. And I'm not afraid to ask those questions and secure answers for them.
Oh, yeah, and I think we all realize that there are factions, and you really have.
Mm-hmm.
You've got, essentially the Republican Party. It is split. We see that there are those that are adherents to former President Trump, and those that aren't. And it seems like there's a divide. But as a Republican, you have to serve both ends of the party, plus those people that even aren't Republicans,
Right.
Democrats and independents who you serve as
Right.
well.
I always laugh in our office. We don't start a phone conversation. When a constituent calls our office with a problem, we don't start with, I don't know, did you vote for me? Because I'll only help you if you... No, we help everyone. And in the same case as a legislature, I hear everyone, I listen to everyone, and I will continue to do that. My personal opinion or thoughts isn't what's as important is those that I serve, and making sure individuals have questions and doubts, then I am willing to continue to ask those questions.
I hear you. I get it. It's a tough job right now, being elected official. It really is. So, well, thanks for your service.
Yeah, it's an honor to serve.
Thanks for coming in today.
Yeah, thank you.
Our 64th District State Representative, Julie Alexander.